Yes, how you gonna make money? How you gonna have consistent money? And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I'm not trying to make this a religious thing, but I've always believed that God can take care of me in anything
Absolutely.
that I do. And if he ordained it and if it keeps working and everything is in line, I knew I'd be taken care of. I just had to do the work on my end. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like leaping out, trusting that leap of faith. You have to make several. I learned that too. Can't just take
Yeah.
one leap of faith. You gotta make several leaps of faith.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Behind the Reel. Today, I'm so excited that we have another special guest. It is Women's History Month, so it's super dope to be sitting down and talking with women, especially Black women, and a very good friend of mine, Courtney Frierson. Welcome. Thank you so much.
Hey, Kim, thank you for having me.
Yes, of course, of course. We've been doing this series, just talking to people of color who work in the industry, specifically behind the lens, just in an effort to expose those careers and those roles to people who are interested in working in television and film and don't know anyone that looks like them that works in TV and film. So I always like to start these things off with just a brief introduction of who you are and what you currently do right now.
Okay. Well, I'm Courtney Frierson. Currently, I'm a field producer and / story producer, depending on the show and what is needed from me in the role. I currently work on Black Ink Crew New York. And I'm an all-around producer. I produce reality shows. I produce documentaries, docuseries. And that's what I do. On the side, I do voiceover work.
Yes, voiceover work.
Girl, got into it.
Did you always know that you wanted to work in television as a producer, or did you have dreams of doing something else in the industry?
Honestly, when I first started, I always thought I would be on camera. When I was a young person, I feel like everybody's like, oh, I want to be on TV. I want to be a star. And so I felt like we were part of that generation that definitely, had a lot of like stars and you wanted to be seen like that. And so I always thought that would be what it was. But as I watched TV and started to consume it differently, especially during college and things, I realized I didn't really want to be the focus. I wanted to create what people watched. I wanted to build those stories and make up those ideas that made people crave coming back to their TV every day. So I didn't start off definitely wanting to be a producer. I wanted to be like on screen talent.
I definitely remember those conversations of you want to have your own talk show.
Yes, I definitely want to have my own talk show. Not throwing that out, because if the Lord says, hey, Courtney, this is what your plan is later on in life, I'll take it. But it's just not my ultimate dream like it used to be. I love the idea of creating binge-worthy television. It keeps me up at night.
So how has your journey been? Because I know you started as a production assistant and worked your way up. So how has that journey been, especially working in reality TV?
Well, that journey has definitely been a hard one. I did start as a production assistant, which is one of the, I don't want to say lowest, but it's definitely the bottom ground level of production you can start at. I was like a talent driver. And so I would pick up cast members and take them to destinations and stay in the car and wait for the scene to be over to take them back to their house. So I really did not have, I'd run and get lunch, and it was definitely an uphill battle, and it still continues to be one. I had to work up from every role, and it took periods of time after college for me just to continue to build my networking and, meet new people. So it's been a journey to get just to where I am now. And I still have, aspirations to go even further. This is the highest role I ever had at this point, but there's still, roles above me. So it's been an uphill battle. Definitely.
Yeah. I don't want to underscore that too about starting out ground level working your way up, especially as a PA. When I moved to LA last year, I was like so green in this industry. I just always knew I wanted to write. I didn't know like the language. I didn't know what a PA was, like any of these things. And when I made the decision that I wanted to shoot my own film, I did a short film, and I realized like you need people, especially a PA.
Girl, you need every role. And I feel like once you understand that too, I feel like as you grow in the industry, you start to look back and realize how important every role was and is. Because also the importance of learning what you need to learn in each role and how it all puts together, how it all, each role is important to making the set run smoothly. Because like you said, you need PAs. You need people who gonna go get lunch and make sure your food is right. Because if you've been working all day, you writing, you're producing, you on set with these talents, you know what I'm saying? These famous people who act like big kids sometimes. You're on set dealing with them all day, thinking of ideas. Just somebody bringing you to your meal and it's right. And they're a happy face saying, hey, Courtney, here's your food. That in itself, I didn't realize how important that can be. Making sure other people have what they need, getting cars gassed up, just having people's back. I feel like it's a very heavy role and people diminish it. But every role to me is important. Definitely every role is important.
Definitely so. It just makes the operation run smoother, is what I found. Until you get so much experience, like I wish I would have had the opportunity to work as a PA, not that I still can't do that. But I just appreciate those people because you really need them. So sticking to that experience, you made the decision to move to Atlanta. What sort of sparked that? Because I feel like there are a lot of people who see opportunities in other cities and are kind of like on the fence or skeptical or nervous about picking up and leaving what they know to go pursue an opportunity. So how was that for you and what led to that decision?
That's a good question. Honestly, when I started, when I was in college and I was working in mass comm, I knew I wanted to be in television in some way. I knew that. Like I said, I finally moved on from the dream of wanting to being on camera to being behind. But I knew I didn't want to work in news. And that was what I learned. And I felt like that was the only way that I was like, I felt like people were saying to me, like, that's the only way to get started. And I'm like, news cannot be the only way you can get in this industry. I just can't do it. I didn't like news. I worked internships at a news station in Nashville. And it was a great experience learning, but I knew in those moments, I was like, I can't, this just isn't enough for me. It's not what I wanted. It's not the TV I watch. Okay. We're not in a generation that really watches news that consumes it in that manner. And we are, as we got older, we are. But anyway, neither here nor there. It led to the point where I realized I had to take a leap of faith. I asked some other people in the industry that I knew, specifically Justin Hart. I remember I saw him in the mass comm building a lot, and I had heard that he was doing stuff in Atlanta. And so I reached out to him. I think maybe, I can't remember if it was on Facebook at the time, but I reached out to him asking for advice. And I realized I was going to have to take a leap of faith. I had a assistant manager job at Walmart. I was getting steady checks. I was staying with my parents. I could have just definitely kept that trajectory going. But I knew if I wanted to do what I wanted to do, I had to leap out and jump out there. So honestly, just that gumption of wanting to be what I wanted to be in my life and wanting to have what I've always dreamed of, it just propelled me. And also other people's advice. If it wasn't for like the Justin Harts and other people that I can't even remember at this time, but other people who talked to me about television before I really knew anything about it, it just pushed me to fight for more. But that leap to go to Atlanta was a heavy one. It was scary. I was out of college for 1 year, a year and 1 month to be exact. And I had a little money saved up from working at Walmart, but I didn't know how I was going to make it happen. But I said, I got to do what I got to do. To me, that's what separates the people who want to go after their dreams and the ones that are continually just thinking about what they want to do, taking that leap. So it pushed me. And I was like, finally, I got to do what I got to do. And of course, my parents pushed me because they, don't want me to sit at home stagnant or unhappy, or keep talking about how I wanted to do this, I want to do that. They really pushed me to be like, be about what you say you want to be about. So I did what it took. I just took a leap of faith, and I had friends here who let me stay with them until I got on my own feet.
It's a blessing to have that type of support system because a lot of people don't experience that or have people go out of their way to talk them out of their dreams. Or diminish, what they want to do because they can't understand it. Like, what you want to work in entertainment for? Like, right. I've had that conversation.
Yes. How you gonna make money? How you gonna have consistent money? And I was like, I don't know. But, I'm not trying to make this a religious thing, but I've always believed that God can take care of me.
Absolutely.
Anything that I do. And if he ordained it and if it keeps working and everything is in line, I knew I'd be taken care of. I just had to do the work on my end. And so I feel like leaping out, trusting that leap of faith. And you have to make several. I learned that too. Can't just take one leap of faith. You got to make several leaps of faith. I mean, they lead somewhere. That's how I feel.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. Definitely prayerful. You know, I'm a firm believer that if it's for you, God's gonna make a way. Like, you just gotta trust him on that.
Yeah.
Because I've experienced that in my career for sure. And sometimes you just gotta be patient. Like, working in this industry is hard. It's so difficult. Because sometimes you can see other people, especially peers, it feels like they're progressing and without you.
Yeah.
And you're just looking around like, God,
All
did
right,
you
Where's
forget about me? Right.
I'm good too, guys. Where am I at? Where's my next level? But that's hard too. That's hard too, because we do have people that we know too that are in our industry and went to college with us, and you have to really, I have to, remind myself that their journey is not my journey, and I got to keep pushing forward in the way that God is pushing me in this direction. But it's very hard. It's very hard to keep that climb going. And I know when you had moved to LA too, I was like, Kim is on it, because you gotta. That's an even bigger pool. You know what I'm saying? It's all a lot. It's hard.
And LA is the most expensive place.
I've heard. I've actually still never been that far west.
It is the most expensive place. And when I first moved there, I was like, what did I do? Because I'm the type, like, I'm gonna get up and go, period. Right. Like, so I was like, this is nothing. I've never been on the West Coast. But when I got there, I had Aunt, thank God, Aunt let me crash with him for like almost a month until I figured it out, and it just worked out that we became roommates because his lease was up and was like, I want to save money. I was like, me too. So let's get this 2-bedroom. And God worked it out on that end. But that goes back to the support system and being able to have friends and acquaintances that you can lean on during those times.
Yeah, that's important, right? I had a friend, her name is Kayla. She and her sister let me stay with them, like literally was sleeping on a mattress in their living room for a period of time before they were like, well, let's get a 3-bedroom. And I was like, okay, thank you. And my little old 2000 Nissan Maxima that a bitch from Tennessee, okay, that thing was shaking. And I pushed that bad boy all the way to Atlanta and drove that thing around. So I feel you having those support systems, honestly, I feel like we wouldn't be where we are without people, other people in the industry pushing us. Honestly, even now, I'd love to say one of my bosses, her name is Jessica Garcia. She's an executive producer, and it being women's, International Women's Month and everything, it just makes me think of her because she's been the prime example of someone who has consistently, like, we met in 2019 and she consistently has pushed me since then. I was an associate producer when I met her. And because of her, I'm a field producer and story producer. Because she pushes people and she believes in your dreams because she had the same one. And like, even now, if I'm like, hey, can I stay with you in New York? Or can I stay with you here while I'm working on this show? Or can I, do you have connects? She's just very willing and open to share her resources. And she always tells me, like, when you move up, you reach back, and I think that's so important. And I love that about people in our lives that God places in our lives for us.
Absolutely. I've experienced that on a lot of levels. I've also experienced the crabs in a bucket, quote unquote, mentality, which I'm sure you may have experienced that too, where, I know you're like this too, try to be very supportive of like friend people that we went to college with who are, doing the work, who are trying to be in the industry. And sometimes that's not reciprocated. Right. Or you may reach out to somebody that you might have supported in the past and been like, hey, can you do me, this solid? Or can you introduce me to such and such? You got an email for such and such. And it's like, I don't do that. Like, like I'm not about to pass you such and such's email. And I'm like, I'm not asking you to set up dinner with such and such. Okay, like, just come up off the email.
An email? Like, how can that hurt somebody? And so I feel you on that, because I've definitely had people say, Courtney, oh, can you put this in front of people? Can you put that? And if I can, and if it ain't gonna affect my job too, now we gotta help each other, but we gotta be smart. But an email, I can pass you an email, or I can be like, all right, I'm gonna have this on set and just have it near me. If they see it, they see it.
Right.
Like, I get what you're saying. Like, I've had people I reach out like, hey, do you know anybody on that show? Do you know anybody I can reach out to send my resume just so I can try to get a job on there? And no response. But I just realized I'm not going to be like that.
Right.
Because I don't think you can be blessed if you don't help bless other people. You're not going to be blessed. You're blocking it. So.
I agree with that a little bit more, because sometimes people I'm one of those people that I sort of cringe at networking events. I have like that social anxiety around a lot of people. But do you have any tips for working the room, especially now that you have a little more seniority? How has it been reaching out to other people?
Oh, girl, I'm not gonna lie to you. I still cringe at networking events myself, because it's still you. It reminds you that you are still a little fish. You know what I mean? You're still swimming. You're still swimming, and I like it because it does humble you and remind you, like, you know what? I still got to keep grinding. But honestly, what I've always been told about networking events, I've never went to one alone, so that's something I do want to experience. But what I've always been told was, one, have cards on you. So I have made business cards for myself that show that I'm a producer and that I do voiceover work, just in case. Because why buy two sets when you can get one that says both?
Come on, two birds in one stone.
Okay, got to budget, Kim. But I always have cards on me with links to my, LinkedIn, and you can find my Instagram and things like that to keep it professional. But I still, always have a card on me. And for me, I always know certain things about my history of like my career. Like I try to make sure I read up on myself, actually look back at my resume. So that way I always have things fired off the top of my, brain, because it's almost like I study a little bit of myself again. So that way I know what I want to say. So I sound, saying something that's worth being said. So I know that's something I've always been told. Know a little bit about yourself, have a business cards on yourself. And also I like to be approachable if I can. Like I don't turn anyone down as a conversation. Like if I'm standing there and I'm, usually I'm there with a more senior person. So they always try to help me and introduce me to people. But when they walk off and they're talking to their friends, I just try to insert myself in a different conversation. Like I'll see a group of people, I'll walk up with my drink and just start sipping and listening. And if I can interject in ways that make myself sound intelligent and worth something to say and actually have a good input to the conversation, I try to do that. But those are the biggest tips I have, because honestly, I'm still learning. And I feel like it's ever evolving, because you're in there, you don't want to be in your shell, you want to be open, you want to make yourself look good. So it's a lot of pressure, but I just try to be myself, have studied some things about myself, and having business cards ready to go. So
Yes.
what do you do? Well, I'm a producer. I currently work on this show. I'm looking for different other shows. I've been on these type of shows. What do you do? So I can, have it ready to go.
I love that you say you study yourself. I've never been told that. I'm like, let me write this down, because that's a good tip though, because sometimes I often find it very hard to talk about myself. I try my hardest not to, excuse me, because it's just awkward to me. So but that's good though, because if somebody does approach you and ask you, hey, what do you do? Then you need to be able to regurgitate that in a manner that makes you sound like you're worth hiring, like you know what you're doing, you've been doing it for a while, right. Like you're worth having a conversation with. So that's an excellent tip. I am definitely that person, that I hit you with a little slave hand real quick. So I've been working on that. I've been working on that. So I try to always have something in my hand, like you said, like a drink or something, so I can just, like you said, just walk up, take a little swig, ear hustle a little bit, and if it sounds comfortable, or if it's something that I feel like I can add value to that conversation, I might try to find my entrance. But if not, I'm just gonna take this drink and go on to another circle.
And go on to mosey on to another circle.
Yes.
I don't want to, I think that's important, because even though you said like the studying yourself, I did mention that it's important. You'd be surprised how you can easily forget what you've done.
Yes.
And you'll be like, dang, I did work on that show, or I did do that. I did have a credit doing this. And it helps you, or just reminds you a little bit of what you've done and who you are. So when you go in there, you have just a more confident air about yourself, able to say, oh yeah, I've done this and I've done that and I've done that. That goes along with what you said, or, that can help your business, and maybe you can help me in turn. So it is difficult talking about yourself. It's weird at first, but at the same time, you're like, if I can help somebody else, or if I could show somebody else, hey, yeah, I did it because I just kept trying. You could do it too because you can keep trying. Then I'll chat.
How was it the first time you saw your name in the credits?
Girl, I think
what was that?
I think my mom still has it recorded. I was still a production assistant at the time, and she has a few of those recorded as PAs. But it was just honestly, I can't even almost describe it. I was so excited because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
dang, like, yeah, you had to wait to get to my name. You had to
That's
wait.
okay. It's there. It's
But
there.
it's
Mm-hmm.
there. And I was like, okay, hurry up. When the PA is gonna come up? And then production assistants, it goes fast by the, it's
Mm-hmm.
scanning by the screen super quick. And so I definitely, it was just surreal because I was like, wow, like I did something. I worked on this show, and though my role felt small to me, I'm on a TV screen. And if any other time somebody goes and finds that show or they record it or anything, I'm there. And it's just cool. Like I felt like I accomplished something. So it was surreal. And every time, like if I'm on a show and my parents watch, I'm telling you, they still will watch a full show, a full episode just to see my name in them credits or take a picture of it for me. It's still surreal because it's honestly such a blessing. It's a blessing. The first time I saw my name on a Netflix show, girl, I cried a little bit because I was like, thank you,
I
God.
don't blame you. That's a
You
bag.
know, like,
Come on,
that's
Netflix.
crazy. Okay. And I was like, that is crazy. My name on a Netflix show. I never thought that would, I never thought that would happen, but it's surreal every time. And I'm grateful every time. I'm so excited every time. I'm like, yes, thanks for this opportunity. I'm gonna try again. Let me know if you need me again. Like I'm ready to be like, I'll work that show every time. Like, let me know. Cause it's exciting. So
Mm-hmm.
it was very surreal.
I want to shift gears just a little bit before we wrap up and just talk about diversity, which we mentioned a little bit earlier, diversity in the workplace. It's specifically, Atlanta has always been interesting to me because Atlanta has that perception of being Black Hollywood of the South.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to know, have you experienced any type of subtle um, racism? Yes, but sexism, misogyny, any of those things, even if it is subtle, while working, even being in Atlanta, which is predominantly Black.
It is predominantly Black, and I do agree. A lot of times you don't expect it because it is so many Black people, and I've actually been told from other people I've worked with from like the West Coast or from like the North, they're like, I've never seen this many Black people on set. Period. So
Yeah.
we are blessed here in Atlanta to be able to see more people that look like us in the higher roles. So I do appreciate that, but I definitely have experienced some racism or just some sexism. You get I don't. It's hard to explain. I hate to say you get typecast because it's like you can't be casted, but it's like you're hired for certain things. And I've definitely been hired for jobs, and I felt like was I hired for this because you thought, oh, it's a lot of Black women on this cast, so she would be good to help with these other Black women because she know about Black women, or because of
Mm-hmm.
my merit and how hard I work and what I have on my resume. So you do question it. I've definitely, being in the South period, you always a little level of always a little air of racism, little
Yeah.
undertone of racism and everything. But I definitely can say I've experienced some. Not enough, I feel that I was like completely singled out. But
Mm-hmm.
definitely, I felt it. Also on other shows outside of Atlanta where I did go and I wasn't, the majority was a culture shock for me. I'll say that for sure. Definitely in other like when I've worked on Black Ink Crew New York. I mean, there's still a lot of African American people on the set, different diversity on the set, but it's still a melting pot up there. So a lot of times you don't always feel like the majority when you're up there in New York or where I was in Virginia on a show. I did not feel like the majority at all. I would
Yeah, I'm
actually told
sure.
somebody I worked with in Virginia on this show. I said I've never been on a set with without at least like 3 or 4 Black camera operators. Like there's got to be a
Wow.
few Black men on here, and I swear there was like one, and I was like, and then me and this other Black woman were producers, and we were the only, other than the EP, we were like the only Black producers, and I was just like, wow. I worked on a show in Nashville, and I was the only Black producer on there. And
Wow.
it was an interesting experience as well because sometimes there were moments that I felt like I needed to deal with some of the Black talent that we had because they can relate to me. I look like them. And to see me leading a team and having this, role of responsibility, they responded to that. People of color respond to other people of color. So sometimes I had to step up and be like, I gotta, do this so that they are comfortable and we get the content we need. So I've definitely experienced it in different places. Less in Atlanta than you would expect, but still, I definitely experienced it. And sometimes it's weird to overcome. You gotta kind of shake it off. You know what I mean? When you feel that
Yeah.
racism or that sexism,
Mm-hmm.
and then being a Black woman, sometimes you get a double dose. So
That's so interesting. I can definitely see that happening in Virginia for sure. I'm back in Nashville now, so I
Okay.
definitely know that you probably had a couple of doses of that
A
being
couple
back
of those
in the Nashville.
in the Nashville.
Yeah, I definitely experienced a culture shock moving back to Nashville. Even though I was in LA for a year, just right at a year, I that experience of being in the West Coast is so different. I've never been anywhere on the West Coast,
Mm,
and not that racism does not exist in the West Coast, because that's not true. But I didn't feel um that pressure, sort of. I don't know how to
mm.
articulate it correctly, but walking down the street in Los Angeles is night and day from walking down the street in Nashville. When I'm in Nashville and I want to go for a walk, I have to be very hyper aware of my surroundings. I have to be cognizant if there's police officers around. I have to be cognizant, if there's somebody who thinks they're a neighborhood watch person around. Like, there's certain things, or even just a regular Trump supporter, standing on a corner on Broadway.
Okay.
There's certain things I have to be conscious of, where in most areas in LA, specifically like downtown area, Van Nuys, Inglewood, et cetera, which are more heavily populated by like Latinos and Black people. It's just a different feeling.
I agree.
Um, so again, that's why we're having this conversation. I think it's important to prepare people. The hope is that there are more people of color who do have higher positions and positions of power, above just PA or entry level positions, or even senior positions, but like our VPs, our CEOs,
Yeah,
our heads of these production companies.
I agree. To tell
Um,
our stories. I think I feel like
yeah,
that's important about it because even though we're on the ground in Atlanta and it's a lot of people of color, on the ground working, and some of them are executives, still the ones at the network level, you know what I mean? The ones
yeah,
that are running VH1, it's like, or running MTV or running these places don't look like us.
right.
Not as many of them, I don't know, but I feel you on that. I want to be able to be in those places. I want us to be in those places where we can tell our stories so we can
Mhm.
share our narrative, and I think it's important. It's really important. I
Working
agree.
in working in reality TV, I've always been interested in unscripted, because I've heard it's like polarizing. People who work in reality TV either really love it or they absolutely hate it.
Girl.
And I've heard mainly from people who absolutely hate it. I was like, I have to get out of unscripted. I have to get out of here. So how has it been, working in reality TV, and has it been hard for you to sort of separate what happens on set? Do you take that home? Because some of them arguments, like, look, they get real.
They get
You know what I mean? It gets real,
real.
real. Or do you
Girl.
experience, like some of the other producers, specifically producers that are not of color, who are trying to direct the cast, trying to direct them based on those stereotypes of how Black women act, loud or obnoxious or catty, whatever the stereotypes that they have of Black women? Have you seen that, people trying to teach us how to do us for
Mm.
reality TV?
I'm gonna start with the last part of that question because that's very honestly something that I battle with, being a person of color working with Black people all the time, being Black, working with Black people. It can it can be hard not wanting to make us look like more of a stereotype in certain things that we ask them to do or talk about, or expose themselves on television. And it can be hard, honestly. It can be very hard because I've had people above me tell me, ask us to do certain things when you're in the field, you're on set, on set all the time, you're with these people, you're talking to them, they're regular people. And when you ask them to do certain quote unquote stereotypes of Blackness, there is an inner struggle. Sometimes there's an inner battle, like, dang, I don't want to make you look a certain way. You know what I mean? I want you to tell your true story. And if you really like chicken and watermelon, then eat that shit. But if you don't eat that, don't do it. You know,
Right.
I don't mean to curse, but it's like, don't do it.
That's okay.
It's an inner battle, Kim. It definitely is a struggle because you're like, dang, like, I ain't trying to make you look, quote unquote, no way you not, that you're not. So it's definitely an inner struggle that I've definitely, as I move up, had to deal with, because it's like, at what point do you feel like you're selling your soul? And at what point are you really making quality television? Where does that line? When do you cross the line into doing something that's really not you or not them, or pushing people to be something that they're not? So it's definitely an inner struggle. I love working in reality TV, honestly. I don't think it's as respected sometimes as scripted television, but I love it. I love everything about it. I love telling stories. I love hearing people's real lives. So for me, I'm on the end of the spectrum that loves it. I love documentaries. I love all that kind of stuff because I love hearing about people's lives that you might never ever know. I worked with Ti, Monica, and them like that. You would never know, some of the stuff. Just sitting like one day I found myself. We were waiting on him to film, and we were just sitting. We were sitting in his house watching a basketball game, and I had to go to myself. I had to look like sit back for a second, and I said, "Hold on, I'm in damn Ti's house watching a basketball game.
Like y'all just homies."
Like we damn homies, all of us, like the crew, we all just sitting there watching TV. And he like, you want some water? And I'm like, no. Thank you. No, I'm okay. Like I was like, damn, we step back to reality. Like, damn, I really am. So I feel like that was a part of your question. No, I love reality TV. I love what we do. And it is hard dealing with those stereotypes and sometimes having to, like I said, check yourself between is this real and is this who I want to, help portray these people to be versus selling my soul. Or I don't remember the last part of your question.
No, you answered both of the questions. Yeah, about do you love it and that pressure of perpetuating the stereotypes. Because I don't know, from the outside looking in, it just always felt like, dang, especially when it comes to Mona Scott, because she has so many reality shows under her belt. It's just like, dang, sis, you don't like Black people. Like, I know that's not true. But I'm just saying, like, from the outside looking in, it can be perpetuated that way unless you're actually in it. Like, unless you're actually in it and you know what happens behind the camera when you're on set and you're dealing with the talent. Like you said, something as simple as watching a basketball game at T.I.'s house while y'all are waiting to film. Like, those are stories we would never hear. Like, these are real people's lives. But once the camera turns on and the audience is watching, we're here for the drama. We're here for the ratchetivity.
Girl, arguments, like you're here for it. And I'm telling you, it is a battle within yourself. Like, how far can I really push these people? As a producer, your job a lot of times is to talk to people and help them to get to, a real point. You know what I mean? A lot of times people think, oh, it's all fake. You're telling them what to say. Well, tell them what to say. You know what I mean? I might remind you of what you said. Yeah. Remind you of what you talked about. And like, could you talk about these 3 or 4 topics? But, like you said, you do take it home with you because those arguments get real. Like, people be serious when they feel a certain type of way or they're having these conversations. A lot of those emotions are real, but it is a thin line between doing what you do and things just, people saying that you hate Black people and you're like, I don't. I love them. I love us. But, if this is how this person chooses to portray themselves on TV, who am I to tell them that they're wrong?
Everybody has a job to do, and that it just comes with territory. For the talent, you are on these shows, they know what they're signing up for the most part. That's an assumption I'm making. Yeah.
And they want to be on TV a lot of times. They want, is this going to get me another episode? Is this going to get me another season? Is this going to, they want to be, on TV, and not necessarily always in a bad light. Sometimes they get caught up in their own emotions and they don't mean to react a certain way. And it's like, I'm sorry, the cameras were rolling. We caught you. You felt that way. You were genuine. You felt how you felt and you expressed that. And honestly, I don't really always think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I don't. If you're being real and you're being honest and you just happen to cuss somebody out, you just happen to have a camera in front of you. Okay, you just happen to be on TV and had a camera in front of you and you cussed them out because
I don't want this chicken and watermelon. You done brought me this daggone chicken and watermelon. Get this damn chicken and watermelon out of here.
Get this out of my face. It's like, if you would have reacted like that without the cameras, then if you being yourself, who am I to tell you that that's not fair? That that's not right?
That is so funny,
girl. I love what I do, and I'm grateful to be able to do it, honestly, and I'm grateful that you even asked me to share.
I'm so grateful for this conversation. Courtney, thank you so much for your time. It's been beautiful reconnecting and chatting with you. If y'all want to keep up with Courtney, I will put her Instagram info in the description box. If you want to hire her for voiceovers,
hit me up.
Hit her up. hit her up. And then we'll be back with another interview. So if you enjoyed this one, please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Kim. Bye, guys.